This is the Leader's Pause with Hal Runkel, but quickly, when's the last time you got scammed? Taken advantage of? When's the last time you fell into a trap that normally you would have seen coming a mile away? Well, it just happened to me, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. This is an episode called The Hidden Blessings of Getting Scammed, and we're going to talk all about how humbling and yet actually beneficial it can be when you find yourself on the losing end of a very elaborate scheme. So tune in. We're going to have some fun with this. This is the Leader's Pause.
Welcome to the Leader's Pause, where leaders like you tune in to find calm, get clear, and level up. Tune in with best-selling author, speaker, and coach Hal Runkel as he helps you take back your time, your energy, and your decision-making power. All you have to do is learn to press your own pause button first. So, take a break, take a breath, take a knee, and learn to access your greatest human superpower, the ability to pause, think, and decide for yourself. It's time to find calm, get clear, and level up. The Leader's Pause starts now.
Good evening. This is Leader's Pause. I'm your host, Hal Runkel, and I like to consider myself, as you do as well, smart and wise and capable, wise in the ways of the world, not naive anymore. I'm a 52-year-old man, right, with grown kids, been married for 30 plus years, built businesses, successful executive coach, author. I'm a smart guy. I've got many, many degrees and way too much money spent on college. And I don't get scammed, right? I did. I absolutely did. And then before I tell you, I'm going to tell you the whole story of how it happened. It just happened this week, actually. And it's not, I've gotten scammed for much more amount of money than I lost this week. But it's humbling more than it's expensive. And what it's interesting is that we all believe that we would be able to spot a scam a mile away. We all believe this. And if somebody else is telling us, if they're in the situation and they're telling us about this elaborate scheme that sounds too good to be true, we can point it out easily with them. But occasionally, we ourselves can easily get wrapped up in that. Or maybe you still don't think you can, but I will just say, if we all think that we can't, then who are keeping these scammers in business? And this is what they do. So it doesn't have to be a scheme that you're falling for. It can just be any time when you begin to ignore your own internal compass. That's what scammers, that's what manipulators, that's what all disingenuous people are aiming for, are hoping for, is that you are going to resist your highest principles. You're going to resist the red flags that you see. We see this in dating all the time. It's amazing. I coach executives, really high-ranking people, COOs, CEOs, medium to large-size companies, and it is amazing how successful they can be in some areas of their life. And yet when it comes to dating, for instance, they turn into the most naive adolescents or young people and end up falling for, again and again, certain promises that aren't there and ignoring red flags. So that's what I'm wanting to explore, is what leads us to ignore red flags when we're entering into any kind of deal. And this is so important no matter what kind of leadership you practice, no matter what kind of leader you are, but we are constantly faced with deals. And it can be a big deal to buy your company. It can also be a deal as to whether or not you're taking your kids to the pool. There's lots of different ways where we can ignore what we know because the pressure of the moment is overwhelming us. And that pressure can come from outside, but the only way that pressure ever actually works is if it matches something on the inside. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's just unpack what happened to me. So, background 2 weeks ago, I go on Facebook for the first time in 4 years. I totally got off Facebook in the middle of 2020. But I went on there to look for a bed, a new bed, a real furniture bed, real wood furniture bed. Lots of reasons why I wanted one, but we've always looked for one. So I thought I'd go on Facebook Marketplace and lo and behold, found a ridiculous, incredible bedroom suite with matching dresser and bed. It's a sleigh bed. It is real wood, thousands of dollars, probably 10 grand when it bought it all new because it's dresser and it's an armoire and it's two nightstands and it's a bed. Got it for $700. That's pretty typical. That's not unheard of at all on Facebook Marketplace. Had to rent a truck. Got my son. We drove all the way out there. We got all the furniture. Paid them when I got there. Everything went perfectly fine. Brought the truck back, got it all in about a matter of hours, and voila, we've got this great furniture. So then I'm like, okay, well, we would love to get a couch. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that. And I have a specific couple of couches in mind. It's a leather couch. We're looking for it. We know what it costs new. And there's lots of stuff out there, but none that we love until we find this one that we love. And then, okay, now this is time. It's only $400 for a couch that lists like 4 grand new. Okay, it's fine. Looks brand new. What I started to do was somehow lust after this couch. And here are the three demons, I think, that we fall prey to if we're going to get scammed. And I fell for all three. One is greed. We want something that is too good to be true. This perfect guy that I have found and I'm going to date him, or this perfect company that I'm going to buy, or this perfect employee. The most expensive scam I ever did was that one. Fell for the wrong employee, took investment from the wrong person, and it ended up blowing up my company and costing me lots and lots and lots of money. So, examples are all over the place of when we get enticed by a deal, we can begin to not recognize that greed is welling up within us, that we want it. We want it, and here's the deal. We want it for cheap, if not nothing. That's really one of the hallmarks of greed. You know greed is overtaking you when your desire for a good price is actually being eclipsed by your desire to get away with something, your desire to get something for nothing and or for as little as possible. And that elevates our greed. And then I was overtaken by something else because these folks, these scammers were masterful about, hey, so do you want to reserve it? I've got another buyer. I mean, this is just textbook 101. No, I'm not going to pay somebody up front on Facebook Marketplace, am I? Yes, I am. Because I fell the second of the demons. So I fell for greed. I wanted this thing and I wanted it for as little as possible. Second, impatience. I wanted it now. I wanted it now. I didn't want anyone else to have it, that I wanted it as quickly as possible. Why? I've been living with these couches for a long time. Now, here's one thing that came up in my post, my wife and I sitting down and just looking through, how did we fall prey to this? How did I fall prey to this? Well, the furniture that we have, I mentioned my company blew up. That was 8 years ago. We took the furniture, and one of the few things of value left after the disaster that happened was some furniture, and we took it, and it's still in our house, but it still has this emotional weight to that incident. And so there's this part of me that's wanted to get rid of all those things. I've been doing a bonfire of all of my old materials, destroyed a bunch of old curriculum that I used to teach, curricula. So I wanted to get rid of these couches. So I fell to another one, though, is the fear that somebody else is going to get it. So I have greed that's motivating me to try and get this deal. I want it now. So impatience is getting at me, and I wanted no one else to have it. And then that's fear, scarcity mindset, envy, jealousy, all welling up within me about a stupid couch. So leads me to Venmo the person. Here's a couple of things. One, I loved the couch so much, I didn't even check out the person's profile on Facebook. What was I thinking? That's a one-on-one. You check out their profile. Well, after I realized I got scammed, I checked out their profile and there's nothing there. It's totally fake. But the way that they were doing it, the way they presented it on the chat, it was this couple, this two single moms who are living together, trying to make it. I mean, giving me a whole spiel, and then, okay, so send me your cell phone so we can talk directly. They didn't do it. That's another red flag that I ignored. So I didn't do the due diligence of checking out their Facebook profile. Then when they said, let's pay if upfront, I fell for it and I willingly offered to do that, sight unseen, without paying them. Yeah. Without actually talking to a human being. Now, would I've done it? I'd like to think that I wouldn't have done it had it been more money, but I have lost more money on stupid things before. So I offer to do that. I get their Venmo. Now, when you're paying somebody new on Venmo, they then ask for, well, give me the last four digits of that person's phone number. So I asked for that, and they said, no, you can skip that. Huge red flag. And I said, okay, send them the money anyways. So and then they were like, hey, and we'll deliver. So I said, okay. How much to deliver? Just charge $50 more to deliver. It's about an hour drive away to another suburb outside here in Atlanta. Okay, I'll just pay that. Then it was, all right, so send me a screenshot showing that it was paid. That's what they asked for. So that I sent it. They have the last four digits of my bank account. They have my cell phone number. They have my address. I willingly gave all of that to them, plus my $450. And within a few minutes of sending them that on Venmo, that account disappeared on Venmo. I didn't check that till later, but it disappeared right after. I got scammed. I'm still tomorrow. So the night they were supposed to bring it at night, I'm clearing out furniture. My wife and I are clearing out the space for it. We're all excited about it. We're putting our own couches on Facebook Marketplace to somebody to take them away. I'm excited. I canceled plans for the night because these people are supposed to deliver. Yay. I'm even chatting with them. Hey, so when's your ETA? When do you think you're going to be, So, what do we do when we get scammed? So, we can certainly talk about what are the red flags, and I've mentioned several. Then we can do that. But also, how do we handle it when we have done it? When have you gotten taken advantage of? And how did you respond to that? It's easy to react to it. So much of everything we talk about in this show is learning to respond rather than react, because responding is something human beings can do with our neocortex, most highly developed parts of our brain. No other creature can do that. Every other creature reacts out of their emotional parts of their brain or their physiologically reactive parts of their brain. And that's why it's so vital for us to maintain our humanity, to learn to respond. So how have you responded? It's easy to react. How have you responded? When we come back after the break, I'm going to tell you how I have chosen to respond, as painful as it has been. But it's actually made a ton of difference since I made this flip. So I'm going to talk about the switch that you can make when you're feeling taken advantage of. We can talk about some red flags. And I may tell you a couple other times when I've gotten scammed as well. So stay right here. We're coming back, and I will talk after the break. Yeah, this is the Leader's Pause with Hal Runkel, and see you soon. Welcome back to the Leader's Pause, a show where we help leaders learn to find calm, get clear, and level up. I am your host, Hal Runkel. I'm executive coach, New York Times bestselling author, and apparently somebody you can scam on Facebook Marketplace, because that's what happened to me this week. So in the first half of the show, I talked about that. I talked about how I ignored so many red flags. I did all the wrong things that you're not supposed to do, things I would, tell my kids to not do, and yet I did them all, and thankfully was only out $450 and just lost my dignity and pride. But here's the hidden blessing. Every year I get older, those things are less valuable to me. The dignity and pride thing. Do I want confidence in myself? Yes. And can it erode confidence in yourself when you realize that you are fallible? Yes, I am a remarkably fallible person, and that's just going to increase as I age. I've probably got a good with, the way longevity, I think I've got a good, barring nothing unforeseen, 30 years of work. I do not want to retire. I don't like thinking about retiring. I like working because I want to make a difference. It makes me feel alive. So I've got that. But I have to be honest, it's not like I'm going to get sharper between now and then. The blade is going to get duller just because of aging. There are a million things I can do, and I'm going to do, and I am doing, but I need to recognize there's a reason why people go after older people, with scam artists go after older people. It's because, we have more resources, but we can easily fall prey to the idea that I'm just as smart as I used to be. No. And probably I was never smart as I thought I was. And here's why that's a hidden blessing. And this is how I've chosen to. Did it hurt when oh man, I'm getting scammed. And I remember telling my wife, you know what? We've rearranged the living room. I'm reaching out to these people saying, when are you going to come deliver the stuff? And realize they ain't coming because they don't even exist. Wow. That was painful. Took a walk, had a drink, thought, talked openly, got out a notepad, started writing. Wow, I just did this. Here's a red flag I ignored. Wow, that's amazing. Here's a red flag I ignored. That's amazing. I think I was really, really caught up in wanting this thing. It was going to impress my wife, this find. It was going to impress myself. It was going to impress anybody who came over. And that's one of the truths that I've learned is we are usually more susceptible to people taking advantage of us when we are thinking that this deal is going to impress someone. It is remarkable how much, like every time I try to impress somebody else, I end up depressing myself in the process. Every time. And that is painful to recognize, but very helpful because I want to grow, and I'm going to need to in order to be as useful as I can over the next 30 years. I've got to grow resourceful. But that first starts by admitting I'm not the resource. I am not the entire source of my own wisdom and judgment and decision making. I can't be. This incident has made me one more time aware of it, that I am incredibly capable of being incredibly naive and ignoring my best principles in order to follow my weakest emotions. Sometimes, though, it doesn't have to do anything with emotional. necessarily. Sometimes it's just we're forgetful. Here's here's an incident of my fallibility that I think is more embarrassing than getting scammed this week on Facebook. Is we were had a huge group. It was around Christmas, friends and family members, and we were playing the game Categories. Don't know if you ever played that game, but everybody, you get a group. There's like, say there's 5 groups of 2 or 3, and you've got a card with categories on it of things to name, and then somebody rolls a die, a 26-sided die, and it says one of the vowels, and you've got to name all those things on that card. And it can be farm animals and vehicles and music genres and brands of cereal. Those are the kind of categories that all start with the letter D, for instance. So I'm doing one with me and my brother-in-law, who is a very successful, well-educated MBA CEO who's bought and sold companies, incredibly successful, smart. And then my business partner at the time, guy, math degree, Georgia Tech, smart. And he and I had built this business together that had us traveling all over the world for years and years and years. And we live in Atlanta. So what airline did we fly all the time? Delta. I was a diamond on Delta. I'm still platinum on Delta. All that status. I'm a 2 million miler on Delta. So we're playing categories, and we think we're all doing great because we are such high brain power. And one of the categories is airlines, and the letter is D. And we can't think of Delta. It just never occurs to us. We came up with blank. We can't think of an airline that starts with D. So then you go around, you get together, and everybody names, and if you name your ones, and you get points for each time. And so we came around to Delta, and we said, we don't have anything. Or it came time to airlines, and somebody said Delta, and it was like, yeah, we got that one too. And we just looked at each other and like, how the heck did we not think of the airline that I was literally flying every single week for years and years and years? Why? Because I'm a human being. That's why. That's the only explanation there is. I'm a human being who's capable of fallibility. And so if I have that recognition that I am capable of being that fallible, that's a gift. It's a gift to recognize, hey, I need to be skeptical about my own certainties. I was certain that this was a great deal on Facebook. I was certain that I knew that there were no airlines that started with the letter D. I was certain in another incident that the guy I'm paying to build my porch was not going to go out of business and take our money. But guess what he did? I was certain of this employee and the vision he was bringing in to be CEO of our company and take it and I was certain of these things. And every single one of them ended up teaching me very, very important lessons about my fallibility and the myth of certainty. And when I am humble about what I think I know, then guess what? I won't ignore red flags as much. I'll think about them because I won't be trusting my own judgment. I'll be running it by somebody else. You can too. There's great leadership wisdom in recognizing that, you know what? It's not my job to have all the answers. It's my job to build relationships with people around me that we can share resources and help one another make great decisions. And that's how great accomplishments occur, is through that kind of teamwork. It doesn't happen through an individual thinking he or she has got it, and I know it, and I'm going to pursue it with everything I have blindly. That's when greed and impatience and fear take over, as opposed to humility. And that's what I'm left with. And you know what? It actually feels good. It feels freeing. That's how to respond. At least that's what I'm telling myself now. Thank you for tuning in to The Leader's Pause. I am your host, Hal Runkel, and I will be back in a couple weeks with a taped episode on July 4th, and I will see you then. Bye.
You have been listening to The Leader's Pause with Hal Runkel, the show that helps leaders like you find calm, get clear, and level up. Tune in every first and third Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio to access your greatest superpower, the ability to pause, think, and decide for yourself. Book a conversation with Hal today. Visit halrunkel.com.